The first time she sat on the edge of my bed and told me she'd missed how things used to be, I knew she was already fucking someone who could still stand. She said it soft, almost sweet, like a confession soaked in pity. Like she was mourning me while I was still breathing. I didn't say anything. What was there to say? I was half a man to her now, dead weight in a chair she had to push, wipe, clean, dress. She didn't see me when she looked at me anymore. She saw what was left, and she hated it. It started small, the way all betrayals do. Less eye contact. Less patience when I dropped something or needed help reaching the closet. More time staring at her phone when I asked for a simple favor, a blanket, a drink, a hand steadying me as I tried to shift in bed. She stayed out longer after work. Started mentioning coworkers I'd never heard of before, guys with strong arms and perfect smiles. Started wearing jeans too tight for comfort, tops low enough to catch stares from every able-bodied bastard on the street. She would say she needed space whenever I asked about it. Space from what? From me not being able to climb the stairs anymore? From the machine that pumped my legs so they wouldn't shrivel up faster? She started showering as soon as she came home. Long, scalding showers. As if she needed to scrub something off before she touched my lifeless hands again. One night, I caught a glimpse of her phone screen when she wasn't looking. Just a flash. A picture she sent someone else. Lingerie. New. Not for me. She hadn't worn something like that in years, not since the accident stole my legs, my strength, my place beside her as a man. I didn't ask her about it. I didn't call her out. Because I already knew the answer. She needed something I couldn't give her anymore, and she was taking it. Without apology, without shame. She stayed out late again the next night. And the next. Always the same excuse. Late meeting, girls' night. Traffic was hell. Always the same look when she came home. Flushed cheeks, hair messy, breathing shallow. Not the tiredness of work. The satisfaction of being touched by hands that didn't tremble when they buttoned a shirt. By a man who didn't ask her to lift him into a chair just to piss. The betrayal wasn't just in what she did. It was in how she looked at me afterward. A mix of guilt and resentment, hating me for what she did, hating herself for still needing to pretend she cared. She'd help me into bed, brush my hair back from my forehead, kiss me with lips that tasted like sweat and strange cologne, and whisper, "I love you," like a prayer she no longer believed. And I would lie there, stiff and cold, swallowing it. Swallowing the stink of another man's hands in her hair. Swallowing the rage. Swallowing the humiliation. Because I wasn't ready to strike yet. You don't go to war on suspicion. You go when the enemy is drunk on their own arrogance. And she was getting sloppy. Last week, she left her second phone on the kitchen counter, screen unlocked. New number. New name saved under Lisa. Texts that weren't from a woman. Things no friend says to another friend. Things no man says to a woman unless he's tasted her skin. I rolled into the kitchen, picked up the phone with dead fingers that had learned to move again out of hate if nothing else. I scrolled through it. Saw enough. Pictures. Plans. Promises whispered in hotel rooms and cheap bars and back seats she never invited me into anymore. Still, I didn't confront her. Not yet. Because men like me, when we rise from the wreckage, we don't scream. We don't beg. We plan. And when we strike, we don't leave survivors. Tonight, she said she was going to a yoga retreat. I watched her pack a bag with lingerie and perfume and smiled. Yoga. Sure. I waited until her taillights disappeared down the street. Then I opened the drawer by my bed, pulled out the small recorder I had hidden there, the one wired to the passenger seat of her car. And I listened. Every word. Every moan. Every lie. Proof. Real proof. Not just the stink of betrayal on her skin, but the sound of it bleeding out of her throat in real time. I sat there, dead legs strapped to a dead chair, and smiled so hard it hurt. Because tomorrow, she wouldn't walk back into my house. Tomorrow, she would crawl. And I would be waiting. The next morning, she hummed while she cooked breakfast. The same mouth that moaned another man's name hours ago now smiled across the kitchen at me like nothing had happened. Pancakes. Bacon. Coffee just the way I liked it, 2 sugars, no cream. A guilt meal. A desperate little offering to the corpse she thought still loved her. I let her play house. Let her kiss the top of my head like I was her dying grandfather instead of her husband. I thanked her. Smiled at her. Rolled my dead legs away from the table and told her I needed rest. She looked almost relieved. Like maybe, just maybe, the wreckage inside her wouldn't leak out today. She cleaned up, showered, always that scalding, frantic scrub, and left early for errands. I pulled out the recorder the second she was gone. Listened again. Slow. Savoring every 6 syllable. Her voice, soft and slutty, begging for things she hadn't asked me for in years. Telling him how good he made her feel. Telling him how free she felt when she was with him. Free. Like I was a prison sentence she couldn't finish. I saved the file under a new folder on my hard drive. Final proof. Because when the trap sprung, I didn't want one wound to stab her with. I wanted 1,000 cuts. That night she came home late again. Another emergency shift. Another client meeting ran long. She didn't even look at me when she said it. Just dumped her bag on the counter and headed for the shower. I watched her walk away. The same walk she gave him, hips swinging, hair bouncing, skin still humming from another man's hands. Later, she crawled into bed beside me, damp hair clinging to her neck. She whispered, "I love you," into the dark. Soft. Automatic. Meaningless. I stared at the ceiling and counted her breaths. 27 breaths before she fell asleep. 27 lies keeping her afloat. Tomorrow would be the beginning of the end. Because tomorrow was Saturday. Her yoga retreat, weekend. 2 full days of self-care, upstate, she said. Girls only, she said. Phones off, she said. Just laughter, yoga mats, hiking boots, and healing. I told her to have fun. Told her she deserved it. Told her I trusted her. And she smiled so hard it cracked something in her face. Because even she couldn't believe she was still getting away with it. I waited until she was gone the next morning, car packed, kiss thrown over her shoulder like an afterthought. I waited an hour. Then I pulled out the second phone. The one synced to the GPS I planted inside her car. The little blinking dot that showed me exactly where she was every second she thought she was free. She wasn't driving upstate. She wasn't driving toward any yoga retreat. She was heading downtown. Same place. Same address. Same man. The man who didn't have to lift himself into a chair just to piss. The man who didn't have to strap dead legs into motionless braces every morning. The man who wasn't a burden. The man who wasn't me. I didn't follow immediately. I waited. Because you don't rush the kill. You wait until the target is full of confidence. Full of arrogance. Full of lies. Only then do you strike. Hours passed. I sat there, hands steady, heart slow, plotting the next move. Not just confrontation. Confrontation is for weak men who need to scream. I needed to ruin her. Not just tonight. Forever. I loaded the files. The recordings. The GPS tracks. The timestamps. The photos from 2 weeks ago, when I first caught her slipping out of his building with hair messy and smile drunk. I built a dossier so thick it could crush a career, a reputation, a life. Because when she fell, I wanted everyone to hear the sound. Not just her lover. Not just her friends. Her family. Her coworkers. Her world. I wanted the betrayal that she thought was private to be the last thing she ever owned. Tonight wasn't the night to scream at her. Tonight was the night to watch her rot, knowing the blade was already swinging. She didn't even bother hiding it anymore. When she came back that night, the buttons on her blouse were mismatched. Her lipstick was smeared at the corners. Her hair was knotted in the way it only gets when hands pull at it hard. And she smiled at me. Wide. Tired. Careless. She smelled like sweat and cheap hotel soap. Not mine. His. I asked her how the yoga retreat was. She said it was enlightening. That word. Like she had seen God at the bottom of a whiskey glass in someone else's bed. She made us dinner. Burned it. Laughed too loud when I said it tasted fine. Said we should go away together soon. Like dragging my dead legs to a beach would erase the hours she spent bent over another man's lap. I smiled through it. Told her I loved her. And she kissed me. Quick. Dry. Like feeding a bone to a dog to keep it from barking. That night she fell asleep fast. No guilt. No nightmares. Only a soft, satisfied snore that told me everything I needed to know. I sat there in the dark, breathing slow and deep, waiting. Waiting for morning. Waiting for my hands to stop trembling. Not with grief. With focus. The next day, while she showered, another desperate attempt to wash away the evidence, I transferred the file. The audio. The photos. The GPS logs. Every piece of her betrayal bundled into one clean, cold email. Addressed not just to her, but to her family, her coworkers, her best friend, even the old friends she hadn't seen since college. If she wanted freedom, she could have it. But it wouldn't be clean. It would be the kind of freedom that comes after a public hanging. When she came down for breakfast, towel around her hair, humming some stupid song. I told her we should have dinner that night. Somewhere nice. Celebrate. Celebrate what? She asked, confused. Life, I said. Us. She grinned, that guilty, desperate grin, and agreed too fast. Guilt makes people stupid. Guilt makes them believe they still deserve second chances. That afternoon, I booked the restaurant. High-end, full dining room. Expensive enough that she would dress up for it. I picked a table right in the center of the floor. No corners. No shadows. No place to hide. When she got home from her errands that probably smelled like someone else's skin, she was glowing. Hair curled. Makeup perfect. Dressed tight enough to make heads turn. She kissed me on the forehead and helped me into my chair. Like a loving wife. Like a dutiful woman. I let her. I smiled the whole way to the restaurant. Held her hand across the table. Talked about vacations we would never take. Talked about promises we would never keep. Talked about a future she had already buried 6 feet deep under another man's sheets. She laughed. She toasted to us. She clinked her glass against mine with a bright, brittle cheer. And when the main course arrived, I checked my watch. 7 p.m. Exactly the right time. I pulled out my phone. Tapped once. The email blasted out. Her phone buzzed once. Twice. 3 times. She frowned. Buzzed again. And again. Her face paled. The blood drained from her cheeks faster than a knife wound. She picked up her phone, hands trembling. Started reading. I watched it happen in real time. The unraveling. The collapse. Every message she thought was private now open. Every photo she thought was secret now public. Every filthy little lie dumped into the laps of everyone who ever loved her. Her mouth opened and closed like a gasping fish. The restaurant faded around her. Voices. Eyes. Stares. I sipped my wine. Calm. Patient. Letting the news pull tighter and tighter. She looked at me finally. Tears already spilling. Please, she whispered. Not here. Not now. Not like this. I smiled. Exactly here, I said. Exactly now. Because pain means nothing in private. Real punishment only matters when there's a crowd. She stood there in the restaurant, her hands shaking, her mouth opening and closing like a broken puppet, while her phone buzzed and buzzed and buzzed in her bag. The diners around us fell silent one by one. Forks froze halfway to mouths. Glasses clinked against plates. Conversations died mid-sentence. Every eye in the room locked onto her, a woman collapsing under invisible weight, drowning in shame she couldn't scrub off if she bathed in acid. I didn't move. I didn't blink. I sat there, one dead leg strapped to a steel brace, hand steady on the stem of my wine glass, watching her fall apart exactly the way she deserved. Her fingers danced across her phone in panic, trying to open messages, trying to respond, trying to stop the bleeding. It was already too late. Photos. Recordings. Maps of every secret meeting. Proof of every filthy lie she whispered into another man's ear while I sat at home, drooling into pillows she stopped fluffing months ago. And not just her. Her lover too. Every message he ever sent her. Every nude she ever sent back. Every filthy plan they ever made to sneak away, to pretend the cripple didn't exist. Broadcasted. Flooded. Sent to wives, husbands, friends, parents. Nobody she cared about would leave that night without knowing exactly what she was. The room buzzed around her now, whispers sharpening like knives. Is that her? Jesus, check your phone. Is that the cripple's wife? Unbelievable. She dropped her phone. It clattered across the floor, a hollow, desperate sound that seemed to echo around the entire restaurant. No one moved to pick it up. No one helped. Not even me. She tried to speak. Tried to find words, an apology, a plea, a prayer. Nothing came out but a broken sob. A fat man at the bar pointed his phone at her, snapping a photo, smirking like he just bagged a trophy. Others followed. Cameras clicked. Flashes popped. The slow, viral infection of shame spreading second by second. And still I sat there, watching, breathing, alive in a way I hadn't been since the accident stole my legs, my dignity, and, almost, my will to live. She stumbled around the table, hands reaching for me, desperate, pathetic. I let her touch the wheel of my chair before I shoved it back hard enough to make her stumble. She fell onto her knees. Hard. Hands slapping against the polished floor. The whole restaurant stared. Not one hand reached to lift her. Not one voice offered comfort. She was nothing now. Less than nothing. Crumpled at my feet like a dying animal, whimpering out half-formed apologies no one wanted to hear. I leaned down slowly, voice low enough that only she could hear. You wanted freedom, I said. Now you're free. Free from me. Free from love. Free from anyone who ever gave a damn about you. Her face crumpled harder. Ugly crying now. Snot mixing with tears, mouth working soundlessly, mascara bleeding down her cheeks in long black rivers. Please, she begged. voice wet and shaking. I'll change. I'll fix it. I laughed, a low, hollow sound that rattled in my chest. You can't fix what you killed. I turned my chair, rolling away slow enough to make sure she heard every squeak of the wheels. I left her there, on her knees, in her tight little dress, mascara running, phone buzzing across the floor like a dying insect. The hostess stepped aside as I passed. The maitre d' looked away. The customers parted like the Red Sea, making a path for the broken man they once pitied and now feared. And at the center of the room, on the floor, under the harsh lights, was the woman who thought she could cheat on the cripple and walk away clean. I didn't rush. I didn't look back. When I rolled out into the cold air, the first breath felt sharp enough to cut glass. Fresh. Real. Alive. The valet ran to bring my car, stumbling over apologies, fidgeting with the keys. I let them all fidget. I had already won. In the reflection of the glass doors, I saw her stumble outside after me, clutching her purse. Eyes wild. Hair ruined. Mouth working in desperate, useless shapes. She tried to run. Tried to chase me down the sidewalk in those ridiculous heels she wore for someone else. She slipped once. Caught herself. Kept coming. Screaming my name. I didn't slow down. I didn't turn around. Let the world see her run. Let the world see her beg. Let the world see the woman who spit on vows and promises and crippled husbands, chasing something she murdered with her own filthy hands. The valet pulled up. I transferred into the driver's seat myself, smooth, easy, practiced. She pounded on the hood, screaming, begging, crying. I love you. Please. I'm sorry. Her voice cracked open into raw, broken sounds, not even words anymore, just noise. I smiled once. Small. Final. Then I closed the door, locked it, and drove away slow enough that she could see it wasn't an accident. It was a choice, a mercy she would never get again. As I pulled onto the main road, her figure shrank in the rearview mirror. Shrinking, collapsing, disappearing. And for the first time since the accident, I wasn't the cripple anymore. She was. She was the one crawling now. And no one, not me, not the world, not even God, was coming to lift her back up. The call started before I was even 3 blocks away. First one, then 2, then a dozen. Her number flashing again and again on the dashboard, desperate and shrieking, like a dying animal chewing its own leg off to escape a trap. I turned the phone face down, let it buzz itself to death. I wasn't interested in hearing her sob. I wasn't interested in hearing her beg. This wasn't her story anymore. It was mine. By the time I got home, the voicemails had piled up like corpses. 32 missed calls. 17 messages. Each more pathetic than the last. I made a mistake. I was lonely. I didn't mean to hurt you. Every word a shovel digging her hole deeper. Every excuse a nail in the coffin she thought she'd built for me, and ended up falling into herself. I poured a drink, rolled onto the balcony, listened to the city breathing cold and cruel around me. Freedom didn't taste like fireworks. It tasted like silence. It tasted like peace. It tasted like knowing she was out there, alone, dragged out into the open, stripped bare in front of everyone she thought would forgive her. Because that's the truth no cheater ever wants to face. People might forgive weakness, but they never forgive betrayal. By midnight, the damage was visible. Her Facebook page was gone. Her Instagram scrubbed. Mutual friends texting not to comfort, but to gawk. Did you see what she did? I can't believe it. What a fucking joke. Her parents called, too. Twice. I didn't pick up. What could they say? Sorry our daughter couldn't keep her legs closed while her husband was fighting to stay alive in a wheelchair? Sorry she traded loyalty for a quick fuck behind a locked motel door? Their apologies would bounce off me like rain on steel. She called again at 2 in the morning. One last time. No voicemail this time. Just silence on the other end when I finally picked up. I didn't speak. She didn't either. The silence stretched until I could hear her breathing. Shaky. Broken. Not sexy panting like she gave him. Real sobbing, raw and hopeless. Please, she finally whispered, voice shredded. I'll do anything. I let the silence choke her. I let it drag out, cold and merciless. Then I said 3 words. You already did. And I hung up. Block. Gone. No more calls. No more texts. No more her. The next morning, my lawyer emailed. She tried to file a restraining order, a pathetic last-ditch attempt to control the narrative. Claimed emotional distress. Claimed harassment. The lawyer attached a copy of my reply. A countersuit, armed with photos, texts, witness statements. Her case crumbled before it even reached the courthouse steps. The last photo I ever saw of her was a news article someone sent me a week later. Not front page. Not a big scandal. Just a tiny side column. A blurry photo of her leaving the courthouse, face down, jacket pulled over her head, reporters yelling questions she couldn't answer. No career. No friends. No future. Just whispers. Just stares. Just empty streets where doors used to open. And me? I didn't celebrate. Didn't dance. Didn't even smile. Because this wasn't victory you parade around. It was the kind you sit with quietly. The kind you sip slow, like good whiskey, burning deep. The kind you never forget. She thought breaking my body would break my spirit. She thought cheating on a cripple would be easy, clean, silent. But she forgot something. When all you have left is your mind, your rage, and the last shreds of your pride. You don't just survive. You sharpen. You aim. You destroy. And when you're finished, you don't leave a single goddamn piece standing. You leave them kneeling, begging, crawling, exactly where they left you. Only this time, you don't lift them back up. You roll past them, and you never look back.